Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us right now on iTunes, please go and leave a 5-star review. For example, this lovely review from Blackened Elk Speaks. Chrissie Mayr has genuine charisma and a unique take on this often crazy world. I would hesitate to label her show on a political spectrum because I think she manages to keep an open and inquiring attitude to life and politics, which is refreshing these days. Oh, thank you, Blackened Elk. Speaking of Blackened Elks, I want to tell you guys about Cushy Dreams. Cushy Dreams offers a full line of premium smokable CBD. They specialize in extraordinary CBD-rich hemp flower, aka bud, that they'll give to you in cans, and pre-roll CBD joints. I'm a big fan of these because they've helped me with my anxiety. I just get really anxious during the day and I get really unproductive. So I find that smoking CBD really helps my body and mind to calm down. And they've got all kinds of different strains that are specific indica sativa blends like Energy, Hustle, Relax, and Dream. Their products are really great. They're grown here in the USA. Every batch is slow cured for 2 to 4 weeks to guarantee maximum freshness and preserve flavor and cannabinoids. They do tons of independent lab tests to show compliance and purity. That's all posted on their website, cushydreams.com. Everything is 100% hand trimmed, never machine trimmed. They take the artisan approach. Every run is a small batch. It looks, smells, feels like high quality marijuana, but it's not. You're not going to get loopy. You're not going to get high. There's under 0.3% THC. So you can get all the health benefits without getting high. It's cannabis. It ships directly to you. It's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. Cushy Dreams, KUSHY, dreams.com. Get some high quality CBD bud. Use the promo code CMP at checkout for 20% off every order plus free shipping. You know who else has free shipping? Manscaped. I'm so excited to talk to you guys about Manscaped. They are the best in below-the-waist trimming with precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. They're based here in the U.S., but just launched in the UK, so now all my friends abroad can get in on this too. If you've ever accidentally nicked your nuts while shaving and then tried to hook up with somebody, you know how painful it is. That's what's great about the Manscaped products, is that they really cut all of that down. I had Frank try the new lawnmower from Manscaped, and it worked really well, made his dick look bigger. It cut down on all the awkward little nicks and, shaving accidents that happen. The battery lasts up to 90 minutes and comes with a really great recharging station. It's legit. It's waterproof. It's got a cutting-edge ceramic blade and will reduce any awkward grooming accidents. If you're a dude, give this a try. Invest in your junk. It's going to look better. Go to manscaped.com. Use the code CMP for 20% off plus free shipping. And ladies, you can get this for your guy. The holidays are coming. Stock his stuffing so that you'll want to stock your stuffing with his manscaped.com promo code CMP. Get your 20% off. Get your free shipping. Let's do it. I am so excited to have this gal on the pod today. You've seen her on Colbert, Comedy Central, The Late Show with Corden. Her album is out now, Voluptuous Boy. You may have heard her on her podcast, Vag, with Adrian Iapolucci. Sarah Tollemache!
Hey! Hi, Chrissy. Thanks for having
me. Hi. Your hair looks fantastic. You have,
Thank you.
I don't know if it's an unintentional ombre, but
it's unintentional. Really nice. It's a pandemic ombre. I just don't have the time. Well, I guess I have the time. I just don't have, I hate spending $300 to get my hair done.
I do too. I think that's been kind of my biggest lesson over the last 6-7 months. I was spending so much money on stuff I kind of didn't need to. But you would tell yourself, it's my hair. I'm on stage. It's part of my look, and you tell yourself you'll write it off, but it's I've never made enough money to write anything off truly.
No. So and then I don't make enough money income-wise. It all evens out. I did my taxes this year during the pandemic, and I was like, why am I even doing stand-up? This is crazy.
I have that same feeling too. You're just oh, wow. expense. We buy this equipment. I used to buy so much so many more clothes. And I'd be like, I need all these heels. But it's like,
Yeah.
nobody's looking at my feet. Nobody gives a shit. And especially with hair too, like hair really is like such a crime, how much they charge. Like, I get it. They're good at what they do. They're like, I don't know, personal artisans, I guess. Cause I know what it looks like when I do a box dye, and that's not good. So
You can't do it. I was actually thinking about doing some YouTube tutorials to learn how to highlight my hair properly and find out what's the good dye. Cause they always say, don't use box dye. It's so bad.
yeah, like what are they using? Like they must be, I'm like, I want to mix it up in a little bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't even think you can use house tinfoil. It's too thick. You have to use like a thinner tinfoil.
Wow. Yeah. I think that's the thing. If I worked in the hairstyling business, I would make all the stuff needed to make your hair look good, like really hard to get. Cause think about it. Like they don't want to go out of business.
Oh yeah. I learned how to cut my bangs a little bit in pandemic, and that was helping me save some money. And then you do feel better when you get a haircut. I always feel more confident.
I definitely do. I have that fresh, like puppy, fresh poodle feeling. You walk out of there, you're like, yes, I'm going to get something done today. I got to go be seen. I got to record something. I got to take a picture, for sure. It's like but then there's tip, and like I got annoyed when I got mine. The last time I got mine done was in July, and they don't tell you to bring 2 face masks. So you come in with your face mask because that's the rules. Then they get dye all over it. Then they made me buy another one.
Oh my God.
They like forced me to throw out the one that they had got dye on. And I was like, I feel like you could have just told me to bring 2.
Yeah. The one that I went to, they supplied me with a fresh one because they said I couldn't come in with mine.
Yours from the outside?
Yeah, from the outside. So they gave me a new one to put on.
Wow. Yeah. And it's wild. And I'm also, I'd be in the city every day. You walk past Sephora, you're like, oh, why not get a new lipstick? That'll make me feel good. And it's like the lipstick amount of money. It's like, okay, well, it's not a major purchase, but you're like, yeah, I also didn't need to spend like $16 on a lip gloss. It's crazy.
But it does make you feel better for that brief moment. So I'll take it. It
does. And I'm like, I'm home in sweats, but like really just trying to stay busy and it's pretty amazing. Like this has been a good test of time for like me and my boyfriend. Like, all right, we've lasted through the pandemic, and like you and Joe, like, how are you guys doing? Like I feel like this was a big test for a lot of relationships.
Yeah, I think we did fine. We ended up right at the beginning of the year before pandemic hit, our landlord approached us and offered us a downstairs unit for a really good price.
Ooh.
So we have a little office area with a guest bedroom. So I come down here and work, and then so we have separate spaces. So
that's awesome.
Good. And every now and then he got a car, so he'll go on the road every now and then, and so I have some time that I can hang out with myself.
So this was like in Astoria. Was it near where you guys were before? That's good. And then because it must have been because somebody moved out of there, and the landlord was thinking of you, and then.
Yeah, well, he said he couldn't turn it into a rentable apartment. I think it doesn't check all the boxes, but he gave it. We almost got quintessentially. We got a whole other apartment for $600 a month, and
wow,
we were like, okay, I think we can make that work. Even though we were like, that's quite a bit of money to add to our expenses. But I think also I think you can tax write it off. But I shoot little videos down here, and so does he. And then we've turned it into an office space.
That's awesome. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah. The apartment we live now, like we're out in Westchester, but like we've been in this apartment like 4 years renting, and I'm just like, oh, I would love to have like a washer dryer, but that's another really cool thing. Like looking forward, you think about like what you want to build. It's almost like what you want to manifest. Like I can't talk about this stuff without sounding like super gay and new agey, but you think about like, what do you want to build for yourself for the future? It's almost like, yeah, I'd love to like move somewhere with a little space, a little studio space, a little space to shoot, maybe throw up a green screen.
Yeah. Instead of having to like I don't know, keep all your equipment in one area and it makes your apartment look like shit. And now you can keep it
That's
in one.
exactly what's going on here. Like I've taken over the dining room table is like just but the dining room is also in the living room. So it's just like covered with gear and papers and 3 laptops. Like I feel like Hunter Biden. I don't know. I've just squirreled away, just home watering all my plants, feeding the birds, feeding the squirrels.
Yeah. And now we're going to go back in again. I think a few shows got canceled.
Oh, which ones?
Well, they're dealing with curfew. So I guess if you have a liquor license, like shows can't go past 10 or something like that.
Right.
And then it's getting cold. And then I was talking to Adrian, we were laughing that you can do outdoor shows if the inside is outside. You know what I mean? Like they built a whole other area, but they've made it enclosed that you're like, this is inside. But if you're saying it's outside because it's an inside that's outside.
Basically, if you throw up like almost winterized semi tents, like if you throw up like catering tents for a wedding, for like an outdoor wedding, then you can do the show in that. But real walls, it's game over. Wow.
Yeah, it's really weird.
It's been really hard to like be a comedian in New York, and like the last few months it's like, you know, I hate to say like I've pivoted towards podcasting. It's like I've definitely been doing stand-up shows here and there. I started this podcast in January and then like stopped for a couple months, and then in May I was like, all right, I really got to pick it up and do, because I'm going to lose my mind if I don't focus on something. And you've had your podcast since I think
like 2015 or 14 is when we started our podcast. Yeah.
And you've had it for years. Have you found that with you and Adrian, like has the way you've done your podcast kind of changed at all in the last, 6, 7, 8 months?
Well, I think we prefer it because now beforehand it would be like if we're in the city to meet up. So sometimes it would be after a 10 or 11 o'clock night at show, and it would get kind of frustrating, and we'd have to work around each other's schedules that way. Because I think Adrian, living all the way in the Bronx, didn't want to come out into the city if it had nothing to do, not just for one thing. She wanted to consolidate and make sure that she had a reason to come out. So now with things being done over Zoom, it's made our schedule so much better. And now that's the other thing of like realizing, I think we were wasting a lot of time in our lives with a lot of stuff. Like I think about, I've just been delivering jokes from my couch on social media, and I think more people see it than when me going to an open mic. And I can kind of gauge if it's a thing to do on stage, that I'm questioning whether I might pull back on shows and work more on social media and get my numbers up, and then just do a few shows a week so I don't lose that skill set.
Isn't that so wild? And like and the fact that like you're even having these thoughts, Sarah, is good, because I think there's a lot of people who they're used to doing what they're doing and they don't evolve, change. And it's just such a crazy thing, because like I feel like you've been doing it at least as long as I have, maybe longer. I started 10 years ago.
I'm at 20.
What? No way. You look like a babe. How? You don't even look old enough to have been doing it for 20 years.
Well, I'm now it's the bangs. That's why I got them, because I can't afford Botox. But I started when I just turned 21. So now I'm 42.
Oh my God, you look incredible, Sarah. For real.
Well, it's called Zoom, clean up your appearance setting.
I did see that. There was a Zoom like, do you want to look better? And I was like, yes.
Yeah, definitely. It smooths out the skin. And then get a ring light.
I have one. It's like, well, you can see it reflected in my forehead.
It's a game changer.
It really is. It really is. And it's so crazy. So I can't believe this. You've been doing it like 20 years or whatever. And also, your husband, Joe List, also, I was surprised to hear he had been doing it 20 years as well. Cause I just remember, you always remember when you start who you see a lot of, and you're definitely in that group. And there's something about those people that I feel like I always hold like a special place in my heart. Again, I sound incredibly gay, but it's like, and I think Adrian too. And I know all these, especially like the girls, like you kind of remember it feels like we came up together, but I was coming up and you were already like well on your way and like doing shows and stuff.
But we were coming up together because we were all doing the same shows at the same time.
Yeah. And like you see who you get to be on the same lineups with, and then you get to see like whose comedy you genuinely really enjoy. And then like I've like also really enjoyed like your Twitter feed like in the since the lockdown, because you are kind of looking at your home, looking at Twitter instead of doing, and I just think that's kind of an amazing thing to think about, because when you said like how much time we waste, it kind of blows me away, like those realizations I've had too, because every day it's like an hour and a half to get into the city, and then at the end of the day an hour and a half to get back. And you think about things like, okay, so now if I go into the city, I really have to think about like stacking my day. It's like, okay, I'm going to go in definitely every Monday to do my compound show. And then I've been ignoring all my doctors. I should probably say hello to them. But the idea of really thinking about your time and reevaluating, like you have all this talent, you know, and you don't want to be pointing at your energy and time and talent towards something that's not going to give you enough returns. And then you're probably seeing with Twitter, like, wow, my jokes are doing so well on Twitter. And then you watch your following go up. I think it's tricky because like as comedians, I think we always think like, oh, it's got to be, you got to focus on the creative, the writing all the time. You got to like work and hustle. But now it's like you and I are like, we're starting to think about like, oh, like where are we seeing returns? You have to almost, it forces you to think in a business way, you know, like where do I point my talent that people are going to most appreciate it?
Yeah. And I should have had that perspective in the beginning. I kind of regret not using social media as much, maybe 10 years ago, getting your YouTube numbers up. I just am feeling like after doing my expenses and going through comedy, you're like, this is so stupid. I think I've been wasting my time with a lot of these, like, you're always told like you should do every single show. And I actually feel like you shouldn't be you should actually probably spending more time at home creating videos and online content and podcasts and making sure those are really good. And then only going up a few times out of the week, because it feels like having a fan base is more important than a skill set right now.
For real. And I think back to how many shows, because that's ingrained, especially if you're like doing comedy in New York City, you're ingrained with, you know, you think about the people I like sort of came up with. You think about someone like Suba Agarwal and Mark Normand. They were known for always doing every show and just being so busy. And I like always would like look up to them like, okay, I got to always be at that level. So you just take shows. And a lot of times, like, you know, I would do shows and be like, I don't really have anything new to try out. Like, I'm kind of just doing the same old set. And it's like, you know, you're not working as, this has made me reevaluate too. Like, oh, I should have been working smarter. I should have
not harder. Yeah. No, definitely. And also a lot of like, just for stand-up, only a small percentage actually make a very decent livable wage from it. And because I would have to say, like, I think I'm at a level that's pretty decent and I have enough credits, and I can't make a livable wage doing this. That it's just like, I need to focus my energy somewhere else, because this is just crazy that I've decided, to focus more on podcasting and creating videos online, and then maybe like Patreon and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's really so wild. Like, even though I've kind of really shifted and more focused on like YouTube and almost like a job, social media and posting. And, cause I knew like, you know, I had the show at Compound Media. I've had it for like a year, but I'm like, okay, that's a specific audience. They have a set number of subscribers. They also, Compound Media also appeals to like a specific kind of person. So then once I realized like I need to get on YouTube and like really cast a
branch
wider
out.
net.
Yeah. Diversify it a little bit.
Diversify. It is so crazy though, because you just think like, oh, it's so easy to get into a purist mindset and be like, no, the stage is the place to be.
Yeah.
You know, get in front of bigger and bigger audiences. I mean, and Sarah, like, look at you, you're like as good, like any starting comic would be like dream to end up where you are with what you have, like the credits you have, an album, a podcast. And it's fucking crazy and scary to hear someone like you be like, yeah, I'm basically at the top and I'm not making as much money as I want.
There's actually a lot of comics that are like that. It's not just me. I think it's actually representative of a microcosm of how the US is like anyway right now is that there is no middle class.
Yeah. And I was thinking Adrian too is like someone else I would say is fully, I mean, any like really good female comic, I mean, like Jessica Kirsten, like, you know, I just feel like we're
Yeah, and
all
they
struggling.
still do those $40 gigs in New Jersey where you're like, oh God, if if they're
Jersey. Oh God.
but like 40 driving up to Jersey for $40, I just think of stuff like when I would wait tables, a decent night would be about $200 that I'm like, that's the same amount of time that you're spending to get to Jersey and back, and for $40 that I'm like, is that a smart business decision? I don't really think it is. And that I'd rather just stay in the city and do something closer to home for free and then get the stage time than, because that was the big thing when I did my taxes. I'm like doing the road to middle because I'm supposed to work on longer sets. But then I'm like, the money that I make from middling is what I spend on a plane ticket and then all the food that you buy because you're out, not at your apartment.
Yeah.
And that applies to also people that work day jobs. I was talking to people that work in the city. You spend a lot of money just to work at your job.
Yes. Oh
The
my gosh.
commute,
To commute, even if
your
you get,
outfit.
yeah, even if you get tax-free dollars or tax-free commuting, a lot of companies will set aside like, okay, here's your transit fund, you know, so it's tax-free dollars you can spend on commuting, but like that's still coming out of your paycheck. And then it's like, unless you're really like a carpe diem, waking up at 6 to make your lunch to bring it to the city, it's like, it's just not going to happen. You're going to be buying food in the city.
Yeah, and for us, not only was it that, we'd have to leave our job and then stay in the city. So then I'm carrying this big lunchbox with me all day long, feeling like a fucking loser.
I know. And
then
then like carrying Tupperware with that smells like whatever food you had, or like your sandwich, by the time you get into the city, it's crushed at the bottom of your bag and everything you own is sticky. Yeah.
And if you're eating a Midtown lunch, a decent one to fill you up is probably about $10 to $15. So if you do that 5 days a week and with some coffees,
Yeah.
that you're looking at several $100s a week to work at your job, and then the money that they would pay me at some of these jobs. And now I'm thinking they could have paid me a lot more. I'm just like really mad at the system right now.
I know. I really am too. Like the last job I had, I was there for 5 years and I like asked for a raise and my boss was just like, no, I think you make enough. And it's just like, and I just didn't leave right away. Cause, you're like, well, you know, I don't make enough from stand up, you know, I don't know. I am mad I totally feel that, being mad at the system thing. Cause you're like, I went to fucking college. Like I was good at my job. Like why the hell wasn't I getting a raise? And I remember at one point, like years ago, my boss at the time found out I did comedy and then like would use that against me. He'd be like, oh no, like you're not getting a raise because you also spend time doing comedy. And I was like, what? It's like, to me, it was like, well, no, I need to have, at the time I actually had 3 jobs because I also was a foot model. So I would go to Tribeca to a basement to try on shoes. Like they'd get a shipment in. I don't even think it's a company that's in business anymore. It's called Matt Burnson, and they had a storefront in Tribeca. It was like a she, you know what I mean? Like you would expect, like very Soho, you'd see them in like Greenwich, Connecticut. And I thought, what? I found this job on Craigslist. And again, it's talking about like the time you spend versus what you make. I would, you know, the pay there was like $50 an hour, but they'd only have me in to try shoes on for like 15, 20 minutes. So they would like just cut down. I'd be like, I'm making a sad amount of money from this like 3rd job.
Oh yeah. I feel like I think I work so hard for no money.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of getting tired of it.
Yeah. And I don't know if it's getting older or getting wiser or all the above. You're just like, oh, the whole like not doing the same thing over and over again, you know, because that's insanity. There's some sort of quote, you know, that
the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. Where you're like, yeah, things have to change.
But you know what it is? It's like at the time when you're in it, you tell yourself like, this is the worthwhile sacrifice. Like what you spend on food, coffee, just being in the city, just to do the mic or do the show, even though the show doesn't pay a lot. You're like, this is part of the grind. I'm going to do as well as I can. I'm going to network. People will see me. The opportunities will materialize. And even though like they have, it's like, it's still like not enough.
No. And then there's things that like, I feel like we live under these rules that aren't really rules. They're just been fed to us as something that we need to do. And this is the way to do it. And now I'm like kind of annoyed with it, thinking that you don't, and you can forge your own way. Like, I don't think you need to be doing 8 open mics a night. I don't.
Killing yourself. Yeah. Running. And it's like, that's the thing is people listening to this, like everywhere, like New York City, no one has a car. So we're sprinting, you know, like you don't even get to like hang out at the mic or show, say hi to your friends. Like you may be like, oh, do I network at this thing? Or do I try to not miss my other set? You're sprinting to the subway. And then if you get up late, they're like, fuck, now I have to take an Uber. Now for sure I'm in the red on this whole night because you had to spend money to get to the spot.
Yeah. I don't take Ubers to shows anymore. I'm just like, if I'm late, I'm late. And a lot of times, especially Brooklyn shows, I had a comic tell me this. He's like, I stopped doing that because I would take it and then the show didn't even start yet.
Oh, that's the worst feeling. I've done that because you're like, I'm going to get there on time. I'm professional. And then they're like, yeah, we're starting a half hour. We're going to wait for the room to fill up. And you're like, I could have subway, you know?
I just spent $20 to get here. No, there's tons of stuff like that stuff. Like, I also even think about, you can't wear shorts on stage, or you can't bring your notes on stage. Like, it doesn't really fucking matter anymore. You can do whatever you want as long as you create your fan base.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like you do. Like, I feel like hoodwinked into like the grind, like I was tricked into paying my dues when maybe I didn't have to, or I could have.
Yeah, and then we get mad at the people that like circumvent all that bullshit, and when really I think we're just mad at ourselves because we didn't think smarter.
Like, yeah, for sure.
I should have been doing thirst traps on my social media, and I should have been, I don't know, doing my own shows and like trade spotting and shit like that. I know it feels dirty, but it's like some of that you can just get good the same way without doing a lot of the bullshit I think that we had to do.
Yeah, I think you grow up in comedy feeling that you have to like impress and get on the good side of every single booker that's out there that books any kind of a show. And even like I would go and hang out at shows in Brooklyn just to let the booker girl would like see me. Maybe I would get to talk to her. Like, me saying this out loud, I sound like a sad girl trying to get a boy to like them.
Isn't that insane? I remember feeling that way, and I'd be like, this is so pointless. I don't have the skill where I'm like, I'd rather just go to a mic and go, do jokes and try to get good rather than like get a booker to like me by hanging out. What a waste of time.
What a waste of time. And it's like, and we're good, like we're funny. So it's like, fuck, all the time I wasted trying to get somebody to notice me. And then you're like, oh, they were just going to book their friends anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm tired of like trying to get the gatekeepers to like me. And I'm like, I'm just doing my own thing. And you can do that online. That's what I love about social media is that there are no gatekeepers.
Yeah.
Like you can just do your shit and you put it up and then people will like it. And then that's how you figure out if it's worth doing it or not.
For sure. Now it's just like, all I have to do now is just not get suspended from Twitter. Like, maybe I'll just make fun of Chrissy Teigen a little less and I'll just be good. And that's why like, I'm so happy and grateful like to have this podcast. Cause I'm like, I've been able to speak to and sort of like meet people I never would have if I hadn't like leaned into this podcast more. So that's the right attitude to have about like social media. Like it's boom, you're there. Your fans are waiting for you. Like, go get them, go find them, find the people that like you. And then think about how you can find more people like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I was just like, I felt like with the pandemic, there was an epiphany of like, what am I doing?
Yeah. I feel that way every day. And, but at the time, it made sense because you're like, the struggle is going to be, this is what everyone's doing. Anybody who's made it has done this, right? Or, the only example I have of someone who didn't do that was Michael Che, who did stand up for 2 years and got on SNL. And I'm
you get an outlier situation.
Yeah.
That's
true. And some people get like plucked up, scooped up because of like specific opportunities, and great, and more power to them. And it's like, I'm not somebody who gets upset when someone gets something, because I feel like there's no cap on opportunity in the world. I feel like there's unlimited opportunities, and like truly what somebody else gets was meant for them, and what's meant for me will come. I'm sounding more and more like a Christian, like born again. So, but I do feel like, man, like, why didn't I did feel like I wasted time, money. I should have just been like, I don't know, focusing on TikTok, making little videos. But I think I was maybe a little bit in that stand-up purist mentality of like, no, the stage, you know.
This is what the previous people did. But I always think some of that's like it's not overtly oppression, but don't you feel like it can fall under the same category of like hazing or
yeah.
You know what I mean? Where they're like, well, this is what our ancestors did, and this is tradition. And then you're like, why?
Yeah.
This is awful and nobody likes it, and it doesn't make sense to me. And I don't feel like it's a hard rule. So why do I just think about sometimes with like people like Jerry Seinfeld, that's like, you should know what your time is on stage without a watch. And I'm like,
please. Yeah. You're like,
you.
Yeah, it's like, you should also know when your car is about to break down.
Yeah.
But something's just happened. You know, we don't have like 10 fucking Porsches, and it's so hard to take any advice from someone who is like, that's what happens when you're doing so well for so long. You kind of lift yourself up out of relevancy, and you can't help it. Like, more power to you. Anyone who's successful, great. But it's like, you're kind of cut off from the rest of us at this point. Like, you deal with your famous people, and yeah.
Where you're like, that worked for you 30 to 40 years ago. And also, it's like, is he really writing anything new?
He doesn't have to. It's like, it should be so lucky to, yeah. That's when he, because I did an episode with James Altucher, and he kind of had a back and forth with Seinfeld when he did his New York City is Dead Forever article. And then he did his, no, it's not. It's always going to come back. And he's like, sent from my iPhone in the Hamptons, you know?
Yeah. But like, it was like watching two rich titans fight each other. And then the rest of us are like, what are you talking
like crumbs,
about?
Like,
yeah.
Can I please do a park show now? Yeah. And that's the thing. Like, you don't really have these realizations till circumstances make them happen. And I just remember being like younger and starting out and being so afraid to ask anybody for advice, being so afraid to ask for like a mentor, anything at all, favors, because it's like, no, you don't do that. You gotta fucking bang it out for 10 years.
Yeah. I don't know. It feels weird because you are supposed to ask. That was the thing I found interesting when I started booking my own show, how many people asked to do spots, and people that I would never in a million years think that they would ask to do spots. And so that made me feel better about asking to do stuff.
Yeah, I noticed that too when I was doing like comedy at Stonewall. That was really fun. That was like a good 6 years. And I liked that people like watching people ask me for spots was a good reminder that I should be asking for spots, and it's just part of the job. It's like, you just have to do it and have no connection to what comes back. You know, you just have to fire out the asks.
Oh yeah. And then not hold it against them if they don't respond.
Yeah.
That one's hard. Or sometimes it did hurt where they're like, oh, actually we're really booked up. And then you're like, no, you're not. I know that you're not booked up, but I get it. You just want a bigger name.
Ugh, it's crazy. I really loved hosting that show at Stonewall, but then like the booker guy was like, he was rude all along, but he would like change my date like a good 3 or 4 times a year. It was a monthly show, and it was a Saturday, and it was fucking crushing it. And he kept trying to scooch me to like a Wednesday or like a shittier day.
That's frustrating.
It was frustrating. And then finally I got to the point where I got like a bit busier, and I was like, oh, I guess I don't have to like keep being a doormat. And it was so hard to let that go, but I just was like, I can't just. And that's the thing. I was being like a woman, being like really like people pleasing, and be like, of course I'll move it and get all new people inside of a week. Sure.
Oh yeah.
Graphic. Yeah.
And then being miserable. And then you're like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you, the show that cause you hosted at RAR.
Yeah.
Right. The restaurant show in Astoria for a while, which was, I loved that place. Cause it was like 2 or 3 blocks from my apartment at the time. So I was like, this is great. And it was the small little restaurant, like maybe 15 people could fit, but it was so intimate and like cozy.
Yeah, that was fun because it was just a block away, and then you could be like, you know, I'll go do a set and it'll take me 20 minutes, and then it'll make me feel like I did something without doing anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember because like when I was dating Pat, he was living in the same apartment where Joe was living too. And I would see you like in the halls like all the time, like waiting for the bathroom, like in the bathroom line. And I'm like, oh, this feels just like, I forget what it was. Like Pat used to call it like a home for wayward men, or he had some sort of like funny name.
Yeah, it's like a YMCA.
Because they were like always comics living in this apartment. I talked about this with Joe when he was on a couple weeks or months back. Like comics have lived in that apartment in Queens since when? Like the 90s, possibly?
Yeah, I think it dates at like near 20 years. And there's one common guy there, Jay, that still lives there.
The guy that worked at LaGuardia?
Yeah.
He's still there? Wow.
Uh-huh. Wow. And there's still comics that live there.
You got to think at this point, that guy like must like living with comedians, you know?
Yeah, I think so. And usually the comics that come through are like friends of the previous comics. So it's kind of the same kind of dude over and over again. You know, it's never like some crazy person coming in out of the blue. It's usually been vetted. So I feel like Jay doesn't have to put up with craziness.
Oh my God. Yeah, probably just like imagine a lot of like dishes left behind. That's what I would do. I would get bored and I would like tidy up and like, like wipe things down.
I mean, that place could be frustrating where you're like, you guys have a whole living room that you're not utilizing and it's just a storage facility of crap that you don't use. That would be like, I was like, this place could be so much better.
They should just make that another bathroom or something.
Well, I think the new tenants like Albanese and Scopo and Pavone, when they were all living there, they made it really nice. And I think it became something, but I think it could easily go back to like what it was beforehand.
Yeah, that's what's tricky. It's like, I think like if men live just amongst men for too long, like it can very easily fall apart. There needs to be like a gay or a woman around sometimes to just like, keep it up.
I remember going to this one guy comics apartment to do his podcast show. And it had a nautical theme and it was well put together. And I was so impressed.
Wow. It had a comic had a nautical theme.
Yeah, it was very like, you know, like a steering wheel from a ship and then like anchors on the wall with like whale paintings. And I was like, at least it's cohesive and it's well put together and clean.
Yeah. Yeah. He's like, I just found this on the road. And I built a whole room around it.
Yeah, because it's like you go to a guy's apartment and their bathroom has like shampoo bottles from 20 years ago that have mildew buildup. It's just, and there's nothing in it. And you're like, what the fuck?
Why is this here? Just throw it out. It's like this much product. Like just be gone with the whole thing. Start over. Yeah.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
They're mental about that too. Because I remember helping a few guy comics clean out their bathroom and their one roommate was like, I think he was getting stressed out that I was throwing stuff away, but I was like, it's just conditioner like this much that's been here for years.
Yeah. You're $5 away from being in a better situation. That's what like, yeah, I've been very hoardery. Like I can get very into a hoardery space where I'm just saving every little thing from a hotel. Like, oh, I figured it out. I saved all the hotel bottles but you just have to
I'll do that. Yeah.
But like keeping half used or almost done bottles of things is not like, you know, you're not being a hero. Like sometimes if you're just sick of looking at a thing, like it's okay to just
get rid of it.
Yeah.
There's tons of that stuff, but yeah, I highly recommend it. It's liberating.
Is Joe and you are you guys equally in terms of like clean habits, tidying up, or are you more the one that has to keep it together?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I like things tidy, but I get like I have problems of like I always want to have our place look nice, but then I can't commit to buying something because I don't know if I'll like it down the line.
Yeah.
And then I'm wondering if I could find a better deal somewhere else. So then we are in this like area of like, not, I want to say purgatory, but just like we're stuck.
I feel you so much. I've picked up a piece, and I just talked about this on like the last podcast I did, but that's fine because I feel passionately about this topic. I've taken a piece of furniture from every apartment I've lived in ever, and I've like been living in apartments for like 10 years now. Like it'll be like a dresser here, a bed there, stuff I've found on the curb, you know, just because you're like, yeah, I'm being smart and scrappy and I'm making it work. And then I go to my friends' like houses, or I'll see pictures and I'll be like, all their shit matches and they look like adults and it's nice. And I'm just like, oh, why can't I have that? I guess I could have that, but I don't want to be in debt. I don't know. But then I feel like that's like broke person thinking, you know?
I know it goes in every now I'll have that same thought. And then I'm like, fuck it. I'll just buy everything in one swoop and get it over and done with. But I mean, I'm looking at stuff in our office right now. I've been doing Facebook Marketplace.
Ooh.
I'm addicted. I'm not addicted to it, but I like a lot of people throw stuff out on there for good deals that because they just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah, I have a pink leather jacket. I'm sick of looking at it. I've had it for 2 years in my closet, probably more. I'm like, I'm going to sell this. I'm going to make a killing on this pink leather jacket.
Oh yeah.
But it's like salmon colored. It's not even like it's a difficult shade of pink. It's doesn't look good on anyone, I think.
Well, you could try it on Poshmark. That's another place that I've done. But New York is hard to do stuff like that, even Facebook Marketplace, because that's a big, even buying furniture, you're like, how am I going to get it to my apartment?
Yeah. And then how do you get it inside? You have to take it apart and then build it inside your place.
But it deters me from buying anything. And then also like I've been doing Poshmark, but you're supposed to print out your own labels and my printer stopped working. And
you just handwrite them.
I know. And then I have to walk all the way to FedEx Kinko's. And then I only had it on my phone. I didn't put on a drive. So I had to get it on a computer. And then it cost me $10 to print out the label. And then I charged $15. And the amount of time I spent doing all that to just resell a jacket, I was like, oh my God, I should have just dumped this at Goodwill.
Oh man, that's like, I feel like that's been such a large part of my life, is exactly what you're describing, is that process of selling the jacket, like all this work for like, and then you're like, oh man, it could have been easier. Yeah.
Oh no, you're like, I just profited $2. Is it worth it for doing 2 hours worth of work? No. Yeah. Just throw it away.
Do you and Joe have you guys had management like before pandemic, through it, or
like industry management?
Yeah, just anybody like helping you, because I've never had management. So I just like but now that like, you know, lockdown time feels like crazy, like crazy times. But I remember before lockdown that management was something I like desperately wanted. And I don't know.
Well, I've had management before and I feel like you don't need it.
Oh, really? Okay. That makes me feel better.
No, like most of the stuff you're going to get is through your comic friends. And most of the stuff that I've gotten is probably through myself. Yeah. Basically, but Joe's team is really good. I think at a certain level, then it helps out, but it's really like, I don't know. You can do a lot of it on your own.
Yeah, that's true. Especially social media, like really is a godsend. Like for as much as it's like slowly stealing our minds away.
Yeah.
It's very good for getting your content out there. Sarah, have you ever had like moments, and I know you've been with Joe, like what, maybe like definitely years now, maybe.
Yeah, close to 10, I think.
Do you deal with like a lot of feelings of like competition or like jealousy or like any kind of like, oh, is he getting XYZ thing because he's like this, or anything like that?
I think earlier on there were some moments, like I remember one time we both auditioned for, again, Last Comic Standing when it came around again, and he got it, and it was so frustrating. And it wasn't really like I was upset that he got it, but it was just like, I don't understand why I can't get it. And then it kind of takes away from their success when you're also when they get something, you're like, why I didn't get it. Yeah. So like self-centered,
It
but
takes a
you're
chunk
like,
away. You're like, oh, I can't enjoy like your full success because I'm too busy picking apart like why I'm
uh,
not as good.
yeah. And then there was this one time, like he and I both sent in a packet for Inside Amy Schumer, and I had already worked on all these sketches, and I've had them, I think, because also through UCB, and I put them all together.
Wow.
And then he showed up the day of and just put a few stuff on a Google Doc and sent it in, and he got a call back, and I didn't.
Oh man.
That I wanted to shoot myself in the face. Or I was like, that's bullshit. And that's when I learned that, like, it's who you know.
I
It's
can
who
just imagine
you
you
know.
opening a window and screaming screaming into the night, it's who you know. God damn it.
Now it is like all of that stuff is like, if you're Heat or if it's who you know, like, I don't know. I would read about like Sam J being like, I've never written a sketch before, and then she gets SNL, and it
I
was
read
from
that.
her
Mm-hmm.
from her Montreal showcase, and she did really well, and it was based on her stage stuff. That you're like, oh, I'm just like slaving away on packets, so I stopped doing packets because of that.
Wow. This whole time, this is amazing to hear, Sarah, because this whole time I've been like, I should have been slaving away on packets. Like I should have been like always in the back of my mind since I started stand up. It's like, I got to submit packets. Right? I should be getting a writing job. That's the thing to do. But it always seems so like daunting. And it's also shrouded in so much mystery. And you got to know someone who knows someone where and how to submit it and when, like, when are people hiring? So I just was always like,
Yeah, there's no way
yeah,
all those people are reading thousands of packets.
where did they go? Where did the packets go?
I know and also like they are going to put the ones that they know are through recommendations on top. Also there's plenty of times like, I don't know, like sketches, how are like a good sketch there, I know it's good sketches will jump out on a page, but when there's so many of them, how does it stand out from the rest? Like,
Yeah. And the person must get tired of reading after a certain amount.
yeah, that I just feel like because there's times when I watch SNL and I was like, if that wasn't a packet, that wouldn't have made it.
Yes, I feel that way all the time. I always want to like give SNL another shot. Every time I turn it on, I'm like, okay, let's just like watch this with a blank mind. And I just like, I don't know. Not that and I know it makes me sound like I'm jealous or salty that I don't like work for SNL, but I really am just like, either they're hiring all the same type of person, or that any risk taking is just so filtered out to the point where they're like afraid of, I don't know, losing sponsors or turning people off. I just
I
like, it's disappointing.
Well, I think a lot of like from what I gather, a lot of the like at least the writers, some of them have got the job because they did an actor's audition that they really liked, but they I guess didn't get the featured player part, so then they asked to do a writing or.
Oh,
But
okay.
also what I gather, it's like a lot of them are friends. They know each other from school or like through the scene.
Mm-hmm.
So now I only submit packets that are either asked of me personally or a recommendation from a friend.
Right. Because you kind of are, I guess, wasting your time if you don't. It's a lot
Yeah,
of, yeah.
it's always during the summer while you're on a family vacation. That's generally when I get asked to do a packet, and I'm so tired of being like, oh, I wish I could go and do that thing with my family, and then your parents die, and then you're like, because I focused on a fucking packet.
Did that really happen? Like you had a parent die while you,
No, but you just think of like you boil down the last 10 years of your parents' life and you're living in New York City and you're only seeing them twice a year. So that's technically you're going to see them 20 more times. And then
wow.
a few of them, generally packets come in the summer while TV shows are on hiatus. And then I don't know. That's the other thing when we were talking about earlier of I've just like, I think I value my time with my friends and my family rather than like treating show business is my higher power.
Yeah. Like show business is your number one. Like that's your, instead of even like making yourself number one, instead of just like listening to your body and being like, I'm really tired, or like, I need to take a bath, or like, oh, when's the last time I worked out? You're like, no, it's for the grind is, you have this like, not even a shrine, but like, yeah, it's,
Yeah, you can't force it. Like, you can't make people like you or like choose you. So like, why am I like making myself miserable and like, being like, oh, I might get a call back from Montreal this year, so I can't go on that trip.
Oh my God. There were so many times I submitted maybe like 3 times for Montreal, like maybe last 3 years. And like, and it's good in a way, because it's like it motivates you. I had done and submitted the best that I'd ever done that year for the submission. So it's like, okay, it's a goal. It's good to work towards something. It's good to like try to be your best. But yeah, I know that feeling of like waiting for something, or like changing your plans in case you get to do JFL. And I remember like I had to drop everything I was doing because someone told me, oh, AGT auditions are today. I left like a dinner or a lunch like with my boyfriend's family, like made him basically drive me to the Javits Center while he waited in the car for like hours. And even though I was on a special faster express list because I knew someone,
Yeah.
I still was just like in a room with like 5 of the worst singers I've ever encountered. And I'm just like, oh, you know?
Yeah, that's the other thing during pandemic is like, I if I can get to it, I will do it. But if it's meaning that I have to sacrifice a plan with a friend or a family member that I've already planned out with, then I'm not going to do that anymore. Like, I want to
Yeah.
live my life on my own terms. And then things that I have done that I feel like help now is like, I don't know, if you set goals to like create a video every month for yourself, or do a weekly thing. Then that way, if you get asked to do some of these packets, you already have stuff set up for you. So you should be doing stuff anyway, like on your own time towards your goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's like I always tell people when they're like, I want to get on SNL, or I was like, that shouldn't really be your goal. It's a good thing to have, but I would say that like, okay, well, what do you like to do? What do you want to do? And you're like, oh, acting or like character work. I'm like, well, then you should probably make character videos. Just
Yeah.
for yourself, just for fun, to put it on. So that way you can at least create your fan base, or like people will watch those and like you from that. And then, there is a high chance that you're not going to get SNL, but at least like it might open up other doors for you, and you're still doing what you want to do.
Yeah. And I think so many of us, like just what you were saying before with the SNL writers who were like aiming to be players, but they're like, oh, I'll take being a writer because maybe if someone keels over, I'll be next, or someone gets hit by a bus, like I'll be back in or something. And I just think of how many of us make those compromises and those little swaps thinking, okay, thinking it's maybe the next best thing, but really it distracts us and takes us away from our number one love, the thing we should have been focusing on, the thing we get the most joy out of, and like when you are doing the things that bring you the most joy, you're like lined up with your purpose. Again, I sound like a total new age twat right now, but it's like, that's when all the magic happens, when you're doing what you love, it feels good.
Yeah, it's a law of attraction.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just think about like, oh man, like all the compromises a lot of us make, because you think like, oh, this is.
Yeah. Well, it's like dating. I remember reading Amy Poehler's book, and the only one good thing I took from it was you should probably like treat show business like it's a relationship, but like, meaning like, don't, like the girls are like, I want to get married, or that is my goal, is to get married. But then like, it kind of reads on dates and it becomes really intense and can be kind of off-putting. But if you're like, okay, well, what can make me marriageable, is like working on yourself and being somebody, liking yourself. So just do stuff that you like to do and that you enjoy.
I've never understood those girls that just want to get married. And I would see them in school growing up, definitely in college, like everybody, like everyone's just like, I'm an idiot. They're doing a sport, like wearing braces. Like I was in the worst shape for trying to find a husband, because I was like muscular, short hair, braces, like I'm really into jiving, and everyone's like looking the best they'll ever look in their life, looking for husbands. Like I played that totally wrong. But I think that, the girl that's like, I just want to get married, I mean, that's got to feel bad for dudes to hear too, because it's almost like it doesn't matter who.
Yeah. Like, and then it's just like this weird intensity, or like, yeah, just to bring that energy. I just feel like I guess there's this book called The Art of Not Giving a Fuck that I haven't read, but
I
I gather.
Book. I love it.
But it is true. It feels like as soon as you kind of don't care about that stuff or like don't focus on it as much as like something that you want, then it does. I mean, it's as corny as it sounds. I felt like with Joe, I remember making like change or deciding stuff like I don't like football. I don't care to watch it and I don't give a shit about it. I enjoy like a Super Bowl Sunday hang, but I don't care and I'm not going to act like that's something that I enjoy. So if they want to watch football, I'm not going to stick around all day hanging out with them because they want to, I'm going to go do something that I want to go do.
And that's so freeing, like just to be like, to just say that. And then you're like, oh, wait, I can get my nails done. I can go hang out with a friend. Like I can just like drink in my room. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know if it's like a woman thing, but you think like I need to go along with what this guy that I love wants to do because I need to be,
there so he doesn't forget about me
Yeah.
or something. I don't know. So it was just like making conscious decisions like that, and I felt like it worked.
Yeah.
And it made me feel better, which I think makes you feel is like a better thing to have in a relationship.
Yeah, it's so easy. Well, it's so easy for me too, like especially when I'm in a relationship to like forget to like fill my own cup, so to speak, right? Because I'm always thinking like, what can I do for the other person? How can I make them happy? And then I'll just be in a bad mood for like a few days in a row. I'll be like, oh, I've done like
nothing for
nothing for
yourself.
myself. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and like you plus maybe then you also add kids into that. It's like no wonder so many moms like fucking snap. Like, fucking take out a knife. I don't know.
No, exactly. It's like you have to do a few things for yourself.
Yeah, it's crazy. I feel like I'm like I know I need to decide soon if I like want to have a kid. It just seems like nothing about my lifestyle like supports it. And then I also get into thinking like, oh, should have done it 10 years ago. But then I was like, oh no, I was not with the person to have a kid with 10 years ago.
Yeah, I think I know who.
Oh, right. Whoops. One time I remember I was in a car with Pat. I forget what we were driving, but I actually said like, I think I'm late, like my period was late. I was like, I think I'm late. He was like, what? And then screeched on the brakes for wherever we were just driving. And I was like, oh, I guess I know.
Yeah.
And now
I know where you stand. Yeah.
I was like, well, all right then.
Well, that's another thing. Like if you want to have a kid, have a kid. You can still work out or like figure it out with like stand up and all the, I don't know, maybe just podcast at home more.
Yeah, I've seen like, you see like Chrissie Mayr, who's a friend of mine, like she's really like she's so funny to begin with, but like watching her turn into a mom and then like just see her personality get jacked up another notch through being a mom, like her humor just kind of grew and evolved in a really nice way. It kind of it like puts a face on being a mom in comedy. It's like I know, of course, like Bonnie McFarlane, you can name people that I think are bigger than me that are moms, but somebody like who's like a peer, I was just like, oh wow, okay, it's doable.
Yeah. I just feel like you should just live the life that you want to live and then like try to fit in the stand-up stuff after you have that first layer put down.
Is that something you and Joe think about at all?
Yeah, I think we're talking about it right now. I guess with like pandemic and then I had a death. My dad died last year and it kind of like put some stuff in perspective.
Oh, I'm sorry. Was it like, did you see it coming or was it like a?
Well, we knew it was on the horizon. I just didn't know it was going to happen when it did. So I didn't get to be there.
What did he have?
He had like was suffering from diabetes and I think it was slowly deteriorating his body and it was conflicting with other issues that he was having. So I think he wasn't living the life that he was wanting to live.
Ugh.
So I think it just deteriorated pretty fast.
Yeah. It's really hard. Like my mom had brain cancer and it's like when she was diagnosed, you're like, oh, well, she'll be the outlier. She'll be the one that lives past 3 years. And then you read more and more like, no, 80% of people are going to die in 3 years. And I just you
think you always have more time, even though when you know that they're dying.
Yeah.
And then when you're around them every now and then, you're like, why am I looking at my phone when I should just be like living in the moment? But then they're also like living their own life too.
It is so hard because it's like, and now it's okay. Now my dad's alive, but it's like, oh, I didn't like him as much as I liked my mom. Like he's way harder to be around than my mom. Like we have way less in common. And like I gave him such a hard time growing up. I always like challenged him. He was always like, I was always getting spanked or whatever, and like he's constantly yelling. So I'm just like, oh, I know I'm supposed to like want to now spend more time with my dad and appreciate it more because my mom's gone. But at the same time, like I just, he's a hard person to be close to, and he's in Florida, and it's like really hard. And also when you said what you said before, like he needs to live his life. Like now he's having a blast. He's spent too much on an Audi. He has a new girlfriend, you know?
Yeah. I know it is like, I think about that with so my mom's like on her own now, and you're like, she could stay with us in our basement apartment in New York City. And then part of me is like, wait, why would she want to live in a basement in New York City when she has, you know, like her own life? Yeah. So yeah, like she's fine on where she's at, and I'll just come down and visit, and she gets to live her life the way she wants to live her life.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just like a lot of decisions lately are like, I'm making decisions that make me happy first, and then like the second stuff is after that is just like the comedy and show business stuff,
which is like it's crazy that it took like a pandemic to realize like, oh, we just be doing things that make ourselves happy first. Wow, like what a gift to give yourself.
Yeah. And also like I hit 40, so I'm in the second half of my life, and then you're like, I don't want to work a funny bone in my 50s. Like I like doing stand-up, and I'll do spots around the city, and I enjoy doing jokes and stuff, but I don't want to do the road like that later on in my life, and then be like, you know, single and like living by myself and eating from gas stations.
Oh, it's so sad. Like, and men are built better for that kind of a life. Like they say, oh, like why aren't there more women in comedy? It's like, well, look at what you have to do.
It's depressing. Like I like the idea of doing theater shows in like the top 4 markets.
yeah, of course. Yeah, having a table with snacks on it.
Like I'd like the Amy Schumer trajectory seems pretty nice.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like not having to like bring your own sheets to a gig. Not having to like bring your own cleaning supplies because you're like, I'm gonna have to wipe down this whole situation.
I know, like it's fine in your early 20s, but I feel like, you know, as soon as you start approaching your 30s, you're like, I don't want to live like this anymore.
It's kind of crazy. It's like almost like you gotta, right? Because you don't want to like look sad or feel sad doing it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like everyone's like, that's what we did, and so you should do it too. And you're like, yeah, that's kind of like that's abusive to go through those like living conditions and those comedy condos that never get cleaned, and then dealing with like club owners walking in whenever they can, and then you don't have to do it. You can just get TikTok famous and have a good 30 minutes and you'll make more money than the people schlepping for 10 years. I guess it just depends on what you want.
Yeah. And like, if you're lucky enough to have the thing that you love to do line up with like the jackpot of opportunities and getting fans and it all clicks, like great. Like it would be, look for the thing that clicks and that makes you happy, and don't stress yourself out doing what you think is going to make you click. You know what I mean? Like, point it in the right way. Like I'm thinking like I'm going to Naples, Florida, visit my dad for Thanksgiving. And I'm like, okay, there's a club down there. I should try to get a spot there. But that guy's a fucking asshole. The last 2 times I performed there, he shorted me money. Like, the fact that he shorted me money once and I still went back, that's on me. But then he shorted me money twice, like just was able to convince me that like, and then the second time I remember I was hosting and he was gone, like the captain Ryan, like he was away, and it was like the general manager, this girl. I was like, oh, like what do I get paid for hosting? And she's like, oh yeah, we normally pay our hosts like $150. I'm sure that's what it is. She's writing the thing, and I'm like, okay. So she like gives me the check, and then I made the mistake of hanging out, talking to a fan, having a drink, because soon enough, the girl, she calls me back. Brian's on the phone, and then I'm on the phone. He's like yelling at me. He's like, I told you 75. I'm like, she just told me that your host pay is $150. I don't know. It's just one of these conversations that made me feel like so lowly and shitty. And I'm like, I'm not gonna say, I mean, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna win this battle.
And it's not even like that place you feel great after you do your set there. So you know what I mean? Like, great. Most people eat it there unless you're like a cruise ship extraordinaire comic that knows how to work that kind of audience.
Oh, yeah, I've had okay times there. Like, it's been fun. Like, it was fun when like my mom was kind of, last few months, but still good and walking. Like, she came with a lot of her friends. Like, that was fun. Those were good memories and good times. Like, I like being able to perform for her, like, last few times.
That's good. I've just eaten it there.
But yeah, I just like, when somebody treats you so badly, it's like, am I really going to keep going there? Like whatever boost I would get from having a good set, I feel like it's going to be negated by, I'm sure, being shorted money again and just weird tension with this guy. So
yeah, you don't have to do that stuff.
So it's like, my sister was like, let's go to Orange Theory. She wants to like work out during Thanksgiving, like the Thanksgiving break. I don't know. I was like, I'm probably just going to focus on drinking. I don't know.
That sounds pretty fun.
Yeah, it'll be good. I haven't been on a plane since March, so
it'll be fine. I've done it. It's okay. Just wear your mask.
Okay.
Wash your hands.
Yeah. Don't lick the seats.
Like that guest that when I did your compound, wasn't that girl?
Oh my God. Yeah, you were on with Ava Louise, who like became viral from licking a seat on a plane. Turns out like it came out later that she had like already cleaned it before she licked it. She's a wild girl. And then she had like one song that blew up on iTunes. It's like I think it's called Skinny Legend. Like, good for her. She's not a good singer, but like she found what clicked.
Yeah, she found what clicked. Yeah.
She did the thirst traps. That's what I gotta focus on. Yeah.
It's a lot of work to do thirst traps.
It is. It's like, I'll just stick to pictures of my feet. You know, there's always a market for those, for the feet.
Oh people. Yeah. I would be a foot model if I could. I don't care. If guys are jerking off to my feet, I don't give a shit.
Right. I
don't want to hear about it. But you can jerk off to my feet. I don't care.
It's like if I gain weight, my feet will still be on point. It's like, I get it. It's like why when I was in college and I was like a little overweight, I would just like buy umbrellas and shoes. Like, I'm like, I'm not going to grow at it. These things are not going to not fit suddenly.
Yeah.
But anyway,
excellent point.
I have a ton of umbrellas. Sarah, this was lovely. I'm such a big fan of yours. Where can people find you, follow you, support you, see more of your stuff?
Follow me on Instagram. I want more Instagram followers, and listen to Vag podcast. If you like Chrissie Mayr, you'll like Vag. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, it's super fun. And then follow her on Twitter. She is hilarious.
Oh, thanks.
And Adrienne Iapolucci. I think I'm supposed to do one of these with her too. So that'll be fun. All right, thanks, Sarah.
All right, thanks, Chrissie. I'll see you soon.
Okay, bye.
All right, bye.